Day 292, Maccabean Revolt, 1 Maccabees 11, Sirach 28 through 29, Proverbs 23 verses 9 through 12. Let's begin. 1 Maccabees 11. And the king of Egypt gathered together an army, like the sand that is along the shore of the sea, and many ships. And he sought to obtain the kingdom of Alexander by deceit, and to add it to his own kingdom. And he departed into Syria with words of peace, and they opened the cities to him, and they were meeting with him. For King Alexander had commanded them to go out to meet him, because he was his father-in-law. But when Ptolemy entered a city, he placed garrisons of soldiers in each of the cities. And when he drew near to Azotus, they revealed to him that the temple of Dagon had been burned with fire, and Azotus and its suburbs had been demolished, and bodies had been abandoned, and that, for those who had been cut to pieces in the war, they had made a tomb along the way. And they told the king that Jonathan had done these things, so as to make him hated. But the king remained silent. And Jonathan went to meet the king at Joppa with glory, and they greeted one another, and they stayed there. And Jonathan went with the king as far as the river, which is called Eleutheris. And he returned to Jerusalem. But King Ptolemy obtained the dominion of the coastal cities, as far as Seleucia, and he devised evil plans against Alexander. And he sent ambassadors to Demetrius, saying, Come, let us compose a pact between us, and I will give you my daughter, whom Alexander had, and you will reign in the kingdom of your father. For I regret that I have given him my daughter. For he has sought to kill me. And he slandered him, because he coveted his kingdom. And he took away his daughter, and he gave her to Demetrius, and he alienated himself from Alexander, and his hostilities were made manifest. And Ptolemy entered Antioch, and he placed 2 diadems upon his head, that of Egypt, and that of Asia. Now King Alexander was in Cilicia at that time, because the people of those places were rebelling. And when Alexander heard of it, he came against him in warfare. And King Ptolemy led forth his army, and he met him with a strong hand, and he put him to flight. And Alexander fled into Arabia, so as to be protected there. And King Ptolemy was exalted. And Zabiel the Arab took off the head of Alexander, and he sent it to Ptolemy. And King Ptolemy died on the 3rd day, and those who were in the strongholds were destroyed by those who were in the camp. And Demetrius reigned in the 167th year. In those days, Jonathan gathered together those who were in Judea, in order to fight against the stronghold that was in Jerusalem. And they made many machines of war against it. And so, certain men of iniquity, who hated their own people, went forth to King Demetrius, and they reported to him that Jonathan was besieging the stronghold. And when he heard it, he became angry. And immediately he came to Ptolemy, and he wrote to Jonathan that he should not besiege the stronghold, but that he should meet with him promptly, for a discussion. But when Jonathan heard this, he ordered them to besiege it. And he chose some from the elders of Israel and from the priests, and he put himself in danger. And he took gold, and silver, and vestments, and many other presents, and he went to the king at Ptolemy, and he found favor in his sight. And some of the iniquitous from his nation came forward with objections against him. And the king treated him just as those who were before him had treated him. And he exalted him in the sight of all his friends. And he confirmed him in the high priesthood and in all the other honors that he held before, and he made him the leader of his friends. And Jonathan requested of the king that he would make Judea free from tribute, along with the 3 districts, and Samaria, and its confines. And he promised him 300 talents. And the king consented. And he wrote letters to Jonathan about all these things, continuing in this way. King Demetrius to his brother Jonathan, and to the nation of the Jews, greetings. We are sending you a copy of the letter that we wrote to Lasthenes, our parent, about you, so that you will know. King Demetrius to Lasthenes, his parent, greetings. We have determined to do good to the people of the Jews, who are our friends and who keep to what is just with us, because of their good will, which they hold toward us. Therefore, we have assigned to them all the parts of Judea, and the 3 cities, Lydda and Ramatha, which were added to Judea from Samaria, and all their confines, to be set apart for all those sacrificing in Jerusalem, in place of that which the king previously received from them each year, and in place of the fruits of the land and of the fruit trees. And, as for the rest of that which pertains to us from tithes and tributes, from this time forward, we release them from these, as well as from the drying areas of salt and the crowns that were presented to us. All these, we concede to them, and nothing of these shall be revoked, from this time forward and for all time. Now, therefore, take care to make a copy of these things, and let it be given to Jonathan and set upon the holy mountain, in an honorable place. And King Demetrius, seeing that the land was quieted in his sight and that nothing resisted him, sent all his forces away, each one to his own place, except the foreign army, which he had drawn together from the islands of the nations. And so all the troops of his fathers were hostile to him. But there was a certain one, Trypho, who was previously on Alexander's side. And he saw that all the army murmured against Demetrius, and so he went to Amalchus the Arab, who raised Antiochus, the son of Alexander. And he persuaded him to deliver him to him, so that he would reign in his father's place. And he reported to him what Demetrius had done, and that his army was hostile to him. And he remained there for many days. And Jonathan sent to King Demetrius, so that he would cast out those who were in the stronghold in Jerusalem, and those who were with the garrisons, because they fought against Israel. And Demetrius sent to Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for you and your people, but I will elevate your glory and your nation, when opportunity shall serve. Now therefore you will do well if you send men as auxiliaries to me. For all my army has withdrawn from me. And Jonathan sent 3,000 strong men to him at Antioch. And they came to the king, and the king was delighted at their arrival. And those who were of the city gathered together, 120,000 men, and they wanted to execute the king. And the king fled into the royal court. And those who were of the city occupied the passageways of the city, and they began to fight. And the king called the Jews to his assistance. And they came together before him at the same time, and then they all dispersed themselves throughout the city. And they killed, in that day, 100,000 men, and they set fire to the city, and they seized many spoils in that day, and they freed the king. And those who were of the city saw that the Jews had taken the city, just as they wanted, and they were weakened in their resolve, and they cried out to the king with supplication, saying, and they threw down their arms, and they made peace. And the Jews were glorified in the sight of the king and in the sight of all who were in his realm. And they became renowned in the kingdom, and they returned to Jerusalem, holding many spoils. And so King Demetrius sat on the throne of his kingdom. And the land was quieted in his sight. And he falsified everything whatsoever that he had said. And he alienated himself from Jonathan, and he did not repay him according to the benefits that he had received in tribute from him. And he vexed him greatly. But after this, Trypho returned, and with him was Antiochus, the adolescent boy, and he reigned, and he put a diadem on himself. And there assembled before him all the troops, which Demetrius had dispersed, and they fought against him. And he turned his back and fled. And Trypho took the elephants, and he obtained Antioch. And young Antiochus wrote to Jonathan, saying, I confirm you in the priesthood, and I appoint you over the 4 cities, so as to be among the king's friends. And he sent him vessels of gold for his ministry, and he gave him the authority to drink from gold, and to be clothed in purple, and to have a golden clasp. And he appointed his brother Simon as governor, from the borders of Tyre, all the way to the borders of Egypt. Then Jonathan went out, and he passed through the cities across the river. And all the armies of Syria were gathered together in assistance to him, and he came to Ascalon, and those from the city met him honorably. And he went from there to Gaza. And those who were in Gaza closed themselves in. And so he besieged it, and he burned all that was around the city, and he plundered it. And those of Gaza petitioned Jonathan, and he pledged to them with his right hand, and he accepted their sons as hostages and sent them to Jerusalem. And he traveled through the country, as far as Damascus. And Jonathan heard that the leaders of Demetrius were acting treacherously at Kadesh, which is in Galilee, with a great army, intending to remove him from the affairs of the kingdom. And he went to meet them. But he left his brother Simon behind in the countryside. And Simon took a position against Betzer, and he assailed it for many days, and he closed them in. And they asked him to accept a pledge, and he granted this to them. And he cast them out of there, and he seized the city, and he placed a garrison in it. And Jonathan and his camp took a position by the water of Gennesaret, and before first light, they were standing watch in the plains of Hazor. And behold, an army of foreigners met him in the plains. And they set up an ambush against him in the mountains. But he met them from the opposite direction. Yet those lying in ambush then rose up from their places and joined them in combat. And all those who were from Jonathan's side fled, and not one of them was left, except Mattathias, the son of Absalom, and Judas, the son of Chalphi, the leader of military training. And so Jonathan tore his garments, and he placed dirt on his head, and he prayed. And Jonathan turned back toward them in battle, and he put them to flight, and they fought. And when those from his side, who had fled, saw this, they returned to him, and with him they all pursued them, even to Kadesh, to their camp, and they even passed beyond there. And there fell from the foreigners on that day 3,000 men. And Jonathan returned to Jerusalem. Sirach 28:29. Whoever wishes for vengeance will find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely be attentive to his sins. Forgive your neighbor, if he has harmed you, and then your sins will be forgiven you when you pray. A man holds on to anger against another man, and does he then seek a remedy from God? He has no mercy on a man like himself, and does he then entreat for his own sins? He who is but flesh holds on to anger, and does he then request forgiveness from God? Who can obtain pardon for his sins in this way? Remember your very end, and let animosities cease. For corruption and death are suspended over his commandments. Remember the fear of God, and do not be angry with your neighbor. Remember the covenant of the Most High, and overlook the ignorant offenses of your neighbor. Refrain from strife, and you will diminish your sins. For an ill-tempered man inflames conflict, and a sinful man troubles his friends, and he casts hostility into the midst of those who have peace. For the fire burns according to the wood of the forest, and the anger of a man burns according to the strength of the man. And according to his resources, he will exalt his anger. A hasty contention kindles a fire, and a hasty quarrel sheds blood, and an accusatory tongue brings death. If you blow on a spark, it will increase to a fire. But if you spit on it, it will be extinguished. Both of these proceed from the mouth. The double-tongued whisperer is accursed, for he has disturbed many who had peace. A third tongue has stirred up many, and has scattered them from nation to nation. It has destroyed the walled cities of the wealthy, and has undermined the houses of the great. It has cut down the virtues of the peoples, and has broken strong nations. A third tongue has cast down virtuous women, and has deprived them of their labors. Whoever favors it will not have rest, nor will he have a friend in whom he may find peace. The wound of a whip causes a bruise, but the wound of the tongue will crush the bones. Many have fallen by the mouth of the sword, but not as many as have perished by their own tongue. Blessed is he who is protected from a wicked tongue, who has not gone over to its wrath, and has not pulled its yoke, and has not been bound by its chains. For its yoke is a yoke of iron, and its chains are chains of brass. Its death is a most wicked death, and hell is more useful than it is. Its continuance will not be permanent, but it will take hold of the ways of the unjust, and the just will not be burned by its flame. Those who abandon God will fall by it, and it will burn within them and not be quenched. And it will be sent upon them, like a lion, and it will wound them, like a leopard. Hedge your ears with thorns. Do not be willing to listen to a wicked tongue, and make doors and bars for your mouth. Melt down your gold, and your silver, and make a scale for your words, and an upright bridle for your mouth. And be attentive, lest perhaps you may slip with your tongue, and fall in the sight of your enemies, who are lying in wait for you, and then your fall may be incurable unto death. He shows mercy who lends to his neighbor, for he keeps the commandments by strengthening him. Lend to your neighbor in his time of need, and receive it again from your neighbor in his time. Keep your word, and act faithfully with him, and then you will find whatever you need in every time. Many have treated a loan like found money, and they offer trouble to those who help them. Until they receive, they kiss the hands of the giver, and they humble their voice in promises. But at the time of repayment, they will ask for more time, and they will speak annoying and complaining words, and they will make excuses for the time. Then, if he is able to repay, he will turn away. He will pay barely 1/2, and he will consider it as if he had found it. But if not, then he will defraud him of his money, and he will have him as an enemy without cause. And he will repay him with accusations and curses, and he will repay him with contempt, instead of with honor and kindness. Many have refused to lend, not because of wickedness, but because they were afraid to be defrauded without cause. Yet truly, be more steadfast toward the humble, and you should not delay in acts of mercy toward them. Assist the poor because of the commandment, and you should not send him away empty because of his dire need. Lose your money to your brother and your friend, for you should not hide it under a stone to be lost. Let your treasure be in the precepts of the Most High, and it will benefit you more than gold. Store your alms in the hearts of the poor, and it will obtain help for you against all evil. Better than the shield or the lance of a powerful man. It will fight for you against your enemy. A good man offers credit for the sake of his neighbor, but one who abandons him to himself will perish in shame. You should not forget the kindness of your benefactor, for he has offered his life on your behalf. The sinner and the unclean flee from such promises. A sinner attributes to himself the goods of his loan, and an ungrateful mind will abandon the one who has freed him. A man offers credit to his neighbor, but when he will have lost respect, he will abandon him. A wicked promise has destroyed many who had good intentions, and has tossed them like a wave on the ocean. It has caused powerful men to travel around, and they have wandered amid foreign nations. A sinner transgressing the commandment of the Lord will fall into a wicked promise, and he who undertakes many things will fall into judgment. Help your neighbor to recover according to your ability, but attend to yourself, lest you also fall. The primary need in a man's life is water and bread, and clothing, and a house to protect modesty. A pauper's food under a roof of boards is better than a splendid feast on a sojourn away from home. Let yourself be pleased with little instead of much, and you will not hear the reproach of being away from home. It is a wicked life to go from house to house as a guest. For wherever he is a guest, he will not act confidently, nor open his mouth. He will entertain, and feed, and give drink to the ungrateful, and beyond this, he will listen to bitter words. Go, my guest, and set the table, and let others eat from what you have in your hand. Depart from the honored face of my friends, for it has become necessary for my house to host my brother instead. These things are grievous to a man having understanding, to take advantage of a household, and to reproach a lender. Proverbs 23 verses 9 through 12. Do not speak into the ears of the unwise. They will despise the doctrine of your eloquence. Do not touch the boundaries of little ones, and do not enter into the field of the fatherless. For their close relative is strong, and he will judge their case against you. Let your heart enter into doctrine, and let your ears enter into words of knowledge.